Hey everybody, and welcome to Pod of the South. I'm Gerard Matthews.
John Whiteside.
And one thing that we are really terrible at is self-promotion. So money is always good.
Yeah.
If you want to give us some money, we are going to put a link out on Instagram. And I think it's already in our bio. If you want to give a little gift, it helps. You know, microphones cost money and time is money. We enjoy doing this, and so
we put it all back into the show.
Yeah. We're not getting rich off this thing.
Agreed.
So, and I do want to thank, we've got some supporters that have been with us for a long time, and that's David and Chris Thomas of Texarkana, Arkansas, my aunt and uncle. But hey, we're happy to have it. And also, if you want to email us, are you still checking that podofthesouth@gmail.com?
No, but I can.
Send us an email at podofthesouth@gmail.com.
I'll load it up on my
John,
Apple computer.
Do you want to do, we had some viewer feedback, and it might be
that's a good jumping off point. Let's
talking about some stuff.
Let's see all this positive criticism that we got.
Okay. Okay, so... last time we talked about the reflecting pool a little bit, and that continues to be in the news, despite the administration's best efforts.
I assume we correctly had the right take, and the listener saying, "Great job, you called it perfectly."
Yeah, most of it is like that. Here, let me. And can I also say that, like, that is one thing that I don't like about doing this, is that it's not that I pay attention to it, but like I don't really like negative feedback. It's hard
you can't get into the comments. When you sent me that, I was like, it was very entertaining, because I'm very much on the frame that we don't have a ton of publicity, but there's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm like, somebody's listening along enough to like send us feedback that they hate it. I'd still take that, because I remember the Howard Stern when I was a kid. And they kind of did it in the movie, and they're like, the average listeners who loves us is listening 20 minutes, and then the people who hate us are listening 40 minutes. He's like, perfect.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
But we do like upload stuff to YouTube every now and then too, especially the short videos, and like that's a lot of bad. Like almost every comment on that is bad, and it's always from like Tom37B4389.
Right, in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to read the feedback? Because I read it and I really...
Yeah. We're going to... so on the reflecting pool post, we had somebody named Anibal Castro. Again, don't know if this person's real. He said, TDS fatigue is real. You're no longer credible when all you do is bitch and cry in your soy latte about Orange Man bad.
Yeah. Well, it goes to the perfect thing that I've always said, is like, we basically lost a cultural election. But you and I were talking about it. It's just fascinating that there's, no matter what Trump does, there's this cycle of his supporters go through, which is outright denial at first, that we're fake news, or then deeper explanations of why it's not his fault. And then, of course, with the reflecting pool, and now sending the National Guard, and then threatening to arrest reporters who do on it. Then I guess there's just that cycle, like, damn it, we lost that one, let's move on. And then you never hear from them again.
Yeah. The reflecting pool, and of course... Fox News and everybody is saying the media is talking way too much about this. I'm sorry. It's just it's a perfect encapsulation of everything this administration is.
It's everything. Literally, you can watch the cycle. Fox News was sending people out there going, they're not telling you the truth. Look, it's beautiful. And then when it became clear that it's not only algae, but the paint is fucking coming up, that now they sent out the National Guard.
Yeah.
I would just like to note that Trump did not said he couldn't send the National Guard when there was January 6 rioters. But to arrest a Swedish reporter, or a girl who you said just dipped her toe put her finger in the pool.
Yeah, she put her hand in the pool. This was a woman about our age. She was by herself. She was down there. She put her hand in the pool, and within 5 minutes, there were like 6 National Guard troops. There were 3 DC police, park officials.
Perfect use of resources. And I just, we could stay on this for a while, but essentially we're spending taxpayer money to have a PR effort led by the National Guard. That's where we are.
Well, and I love there's like clips now where a few weeks ago, Donald Trump said that the material of the pool is going to be so strong, you couldn't even cut it with a knife if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And then about yesterday or the day before, Oh, vandals cut it with a knife. They put a 300-foot cut down the middle of the
And it's
bottom
just
of the pool.
unbelievable that they don't have a better PR firm of like, hey, let's research this and come up with a plausible explanation. Because then it was, of course, they put hydrogen peroxide to kill the algae. Then they said, hey, that hydrogen peroxide is what peeled the paint. It's like, no, it fucking doesn't. Like, you have bleach in every pool in America, and it doesn't. The contractor is a total fraud. You saw that. He looks like the pallbearers, manager from WWF. It's just like the Undertaker's manager, excuse me. It's just you can't write it.
Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. Google the guy who got the contract for this. He is the most like Trump looking person I've
He
ever
looks
seen.
like a Dick Tracy character.
He does.
No,
he looks like
he
a
looks
Dick Tracy.
exact
bad guy.
like Google the Undertaker's manager, and it's perfect.
All right. Well, here's another one. This is from Sally Rhodes Minster. I think she actually owns a pool company. And she says, "Hey, dipshits."
I'm listening. How'd she know my name?
That's so funny. Hey, dipshits. It's algae from the old plumbing. It's the Park Service's job to get the chemicals right. If you build a pool, the builder doesn't get to start it up and balance the chems. Get a life.
I mean, that's that second stage. It's, first, it's not happening. 2, there's some convoluted reason why. I'm sure it's Biden's fault.
Yep.
And then 3, there is just use the National Guard to deny the story.
Here's one from our discussion about the UFC event on the White House lawn. This guy's name is Andrew IDK. So again, could be real, could be fake. How do you turn that into an attack on women? Besides, there's actually a decent argument that Michelle is a man anyways, but how is that an attack on women either way? And that fighter who said that is not a political person. He's a cage fighter, LOL. So why get so bent out of shape about that? You see a sporting event and think of how it is political. I think that's sad and shitty.
I mean, that's just like, I can't tell you again, we lost a cultural election, but their entire party was basically like, we're not ready for a woman. We're sexist as hell for no reason during the middle of a fight. And I love that he's like, there's good evidence that Michelle is a man. Like, oh yeah, I did my own research. But I mean, the whole movement is based on excluding women. I mean, like we said, that was like incel.com and Crypto presents Lonely Man UFC competition at the White House. And it's just so overtly obvious how misogynistic and sexist they are. But if you ever remind them of it, it's like, no, okay, so that wasn't an attack on women. That wasn't a racist attack. And that it was appropriate for him to go, oh, yeah, Michelle Obama's a man.
Well, I mean, he was a cage fighter, but he made it political when he said that. So I don't know. Fuck
yeah,
off.
we all know that event wasn't political at all. It's at the fucking White House.
So we had a little discussion about the economy, and we posted a short clip where I was kind of talking about how hard last year was for me. I had a severe reduction in business, and largely due to all this stuff that's going on. And this is a woman that posts very regularly on our stuff, and this is a person I went to college with. That is, I mean, anyway, you'll get the idea. Because I see, the title of the video was like, "How's your economy doing?" She said, "It's about to be even more amazing because they have snuck 100 million barrels of oil out of Iran in the dark of night in the ships they had in the strait, pretending they were stuck. He just announced it and can't wait to see the results. We also found 146,000 of the 475,000 trafficked kids estimated were missing in our country that was done under Scamala's watch. We're on cloud 9 with a blue heart." Now,
this girl went to college with you? Jesus Christ. That's like the amount of misinformation. It's like these fantasies that he snuck 100 million barrels. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like when the Strait of Hormuz was open, oil wasn't that cheap. And my idea that they may have stuck 100 million barrels and somehow that's going to backflow the economy. It's like you can't say the R word anymore, but it's so regarded. It's, it's just painful.
Well, sometimes, when I get stuff like this, I try to understand.
Yeah, you gotta have empathy, but and so, you need to alpha up, bud. Get some Bitcoin and turn this year around.
So I Googled this, and there's just no credible evidence for either of these claims anywhere. the whole thing about like Trump is sort of like this is like a bad action movie where they pretend these ships are stuck and they're sneaking oil out in the dark of night. I mean, I like that phrase about it, in the dark of night.
Well, the beginning of that one was Trump kind of made he just lied about it. He's like, we've got a bunch of, the oil is flowing because he just wanted to just like everything, he gets ahead of himself. It's like Strait of Hormuz is open. And then he kind of threw in, he's like, also, we already snuck a bunch of oil through there and they didn't even know because we're so badass.
No. And then this whole thing about the missing children, I don't know what you're talking about. And then it's also, to me, it's crazy. They're so pro-life and they're so concerned about trafficked children, but they don't care. They don't give one shit about the kids that are in that detention center in Dilley.
Yeah,
This
but I would
very
not even
same
I don't want to
person-
do the false equivalency. The reason they bring up something like that is because we can all agree 100% trafficking is one of the worst things on earth. Nobody is for it. So that's what they do. They just take one of the issues that is so intolerable and so clearly wrong, and then they just make up shit. And so Democrats love trafficking kids. It's like Pizzagate, and it's such horrible misinformation that oftentimes it leads to violence, or it leads to this righteous indignation because they're like, I'm going to go fight the Democrats because they're smuggling kids.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just fucking not true. And that needs to just be said outright. Human trafficking, horrible. Nobody is for it. We can all agree on that and go, that's just such dangerous misinformation. I don't know if we do ourselves service like, well, you care about human trafficking, but you don't care about migrants in detention. It's like, no, nobody likes human trafficking. Hard stop. And what you said is totally made up, and you're fucking stupid.
Well, and
if you believe it.
But two, you're right. It does play into this narrative that they have that Democrats are evil.
Right.
It's like, I understand that there are like opposing political views to mine. I don't think that they're like the spawn of the devil. But
Right.
you have this whole
Yeah.
group of people in this country that like they literally think that like voting Democrat, you would be voting for Satan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fair arguments are Democrats, can we be weird? Yep. Do we often let too many people, be a part of the conversation, and that can make us indecisive? Are we, do we oftentimes, shoot ourselves in the foot by, making policy front and center about something that's probably pretty minor and doesn't affect most people? 100%. But that's kind of like the dual forces they have. They're like, Democrats are out of touch culturally, and also they have this base of 30% that just believe insane shit that's not true, and currently that's enough to get them over the top in presidential elections.
A little bit nicer. I got a this is a text message I got from my cousin. He said, "Great episode. Happy to have y'all back. I think you and I are in the same boat. I've done my best to turn off and delete as much social media as I can, and I feel like I'm much better off for it. Shit is so crazy. Good to know there are other sane people out there." So that was nice. And then we kind of went back and forth. I told him, that's kind of why we do this.
Yeah.
Like, we don't pretend that we're experts on anything. I think we just like to have a vent session because things are crazy. And we like to remind ourselves that is crazy and not us. And to just have like a forum or, just a place where people who feel like us, which I think is a lot of people down here.
Yeah.
To just kind of be with some like-minded, listeners and whatever else.
And try and be honest, about insecurities and everything else.
And to be honest, I've almost thought about like starting like a support group for people whose families are MAGA.
Yeah.
Because that is a certain kind of like torture that it's kind of always with you. Like I'm kind of constantly having arguments in my head with people that are in my family, people that I care about, who are smart people who have totally given over to this thing.
Yeah, and I was, thinking about it recently, because you can kind of have, if you have the bandwidth or the patience to go through it factually, but ultimately you get to a point, at least it's been my experience with a lot of my family members, is that you'll get to a segment of people or people not Americans that they just don't care about, and they don't want to hear your point of view on it, and they're like, I don't know, it's not necessarily mean. It's just like their construct has decided this is who I'm going to care about, whether it's just Arkansans or just people in my neighborhood. And as you and I both know, when you get on the neighbor level or local level, MAGA are the best people. I mean, they're some of the best people on earth. They still are. And some of the people voted for Trump, or the majority, are some of the greatest people I know. They are just fundamentally misinformed or are angry about something.
Well, and I think
it's that anger that drives a lot of it.
And I think because we care about politics and try to understand this stuff and try to understand what's going on, we project that onto other people. I don't think they really care.
Yeah.
They like to be on a winning side,
Yeah.
and they know the Republicans are against abortion, and that's like enough.
Yeah, there is that core, and then, you know, I think we overthink it with the Joe Rogans of those, like, they're pretty stupid, and they get convinced culturally that it's gonna be punk rock to vote for Trump this time and that, you know, Democrats are nanny state. It's not untrue, but it's like, geez, at some point, we gotta look at policy, and Republicans have never been good at the economy, at healthcare, at all these things that, you know, vast majority of the Trumpers voted for. They're like, "I need a little bit more healthcare. I want affordability to be, you know, stuff to be more affordable, and I want to do better in the economy." And I mean, over the last 40 years, I can just show you policy after policy after policy. Like, Republicans have never given health care to anybody. And if you're really honest about the economy, it always does worse under Republicans because they do everything they can to take a ball peen hammer to the economy. And it's just tax cuts for the rich, take away health care, take away all these community supports, take away all this organic growth that happens with small business when they have this support. And so it's like, I get that sometimes it feels frustrating, but when Democrats come back or when we allow, and I think it's probably good that we allowed Trump to become, we didn't allow it, but there was so much anger and so much fermenting just, you know, hostility towards the government and Democrats that I think if Trump hadn't gotten back in office, we would have had this toxic brew for a long time. The only thing that can kind of restore sanity is just like, okay, let Trump do everything he said he was going to do. It's a total fucking disaster. Now let's give Democrats a chance. And what's happening, unfortunately, is George W. Bush did this. Obama turned it around completely. The fringe liberals, and I still have pissed off at the kind of Bernies of the world, were like, well, he wasn't perfect, so we're going to be angry. And then all the Republicans who want to come back go, okay, well, Obama did 2 things wrong, so let's try a Republican. They destroy the economy, we go back to a Democrat. And now I think we're in the cycle at the midterms. They'll give Democrats a chance again because he's destroyed everything.
Yeah, he's gotten that. There is kind of one little thing about what you said of like he has been himself so much that it's starting to be a liability, and like it is giving us something to like really make a display out of. Like, is this really the world you want to live in? And I don't think a lot of people do. Another positive comment, which these are few and far between, so this is from Carissa Arnett in Dallas. Firstly, glad y'all are back at it with the pod. Regarding Whiteside's take on Succession, I have made repeated attempts to get through the first season. Cannot fucking do it. I could see how it might get more interesting, but I couldn't follow through. I've felt like an outlier, but John made me feel really seen.
Yeah, everybody you are seeing. I got the most feedback ever from people who didn't like Succession. They're like, thank God there's somebody. And it's not to stay on that point, but when I was not liking Succession, I Googled many times just to see if there was one bad review in the entire sphere of online critics or TV critics. I still have yet to find one.
Yeah,
and that made me feel insane.
That's because it's a great show.
Because it's dog shit. But everybody's
it's a great show, and I understand where you're coming from. But you're so
it's
wrong
just like
about
it's how you get to vote for Trump. They're like, I don't think he's naked. It's like, yeah, he's naked.
All right. So the rest of her comment. Also, it's so fucked up out there, and your pod is providing a space for comedic relief, validation, because it's easy to be politically gaslit, and informative current/political events all in one.
Thank you, Carissa.
Thank you. And then I had a comment from a friend of mine. Know what I didn't know I needed in my life? Hating ass John Whiteside.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, he hates.
Yeah. Oh, I've got so many hates.
So let me tell you my favorite John Whiteside hater moment, and I hate to sorry to spring this on you because we didn't talk about this before, and you may or may not even remember this. I think this was a show at the Rev Room back when Jason Isbell was still with the Drive-By Truckers.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a long time.
Me and you were there. We'd probably both had a lot to drink that night, but it was sort of toward the end of the concert. Toward the end of the show, and you were screaming out, "Outfit sucks."
I'm not gonna dispute that, but I think I would get pissed because that's all people would request, and that's my. I thought you were gonna say Mike Cooley, and I'd like that's accurate. I have a long known disdain for Mike Cooley and think Mike Cooley would be homeless if you never met Patterson Hood, but that's been a long time fight with my friends who are diehard Drive-By Truckers fans, and they all love Mike Cooley.
Yeah,
you're out of your mind. Patterson Hood is the driving force.
Well,
you go through it.
I'm a Mike Cooley truther, but I just remember that as being like a moment.
The only reason I would say that, because I love Outfit, would be the amount of times people just, would request it. I mean, Jason Isbell got sick of it, so that is definitely where I would flip the script and just say Outfit sucks.
Okay.
But there's zero chance I don't love that song. It's like, in fact, when he played it last time, it can bring a tear to your eye.
Oh, yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for viewer feedback. Comment on our post. I mean, that's actually the best way to get in touch with us or for us to see, because we do look at that stuff, even though most of it
or cover
is bad.
subjects.
Or send us an email, podofthesouth@gmail.com. That's it for reader feedback, and it doesn't leave us a whole lot of time left. We went really long last time, so I kind of wanted to try to keep this around 35 minutes this week if we can. But you had some, we talked a little bit before about some things we might want to talk about. The reflecting pool was one of them. You said you had an interesting take on Iran and JD Vance.
You ready for this?
Like, I'm all ears, because I just have no idea what is about to come out of your mouth.
Well, so I think JD Vance, who I'm not necessarily very fond of, but it's very evident to me how much smarter he is than anybody in the administration, whether he uses it for good or evil. So here's my take, is that you can just see that all the Republicans, there's no question they're going to hate this deal. And I think Democrats can score points on it in the midterms because, it looks like we're giving $300 billion. Of course, they haven't said where the money's going to come from, so it may come from different sources and not direct payments from the United States. But ultimately, and I think JD Vance is like, I'll own it. I know it's going to be absolutely maybe the most unpopular policy agreement if it goes through for the next year. But I think if you go out a year and a half, I think it starts to work. And it's not because it's anything radical. It's like Iran forever has had this, 90 million people, I think, has this incredibly educated class. And granted, they've been, completely suppressed by a theocratic government. But if we just could normalize relationships and start to rebuild their economy, they're not going to overnight become this great ally. But I think you could, there's a possibility where you look 4 or 5 or 6 years down the road going, hell, we've turned the corner. And it's not because Trump bond them, but if we get a deal, and Trump is the only one, unfortunately, that could do that and not have mass revolt. I mean, Obama freed up $12 billion that was basically just frozen by us in a long, very structured agreement. Hillary Clinton was on the New Yorker last week, and she's like, we had nuclear physicists there when we did that agreement. We had all kinds of checks, and it was a very structured deal. And so, of course, anytime you do a compromise, they're like, we'll unfreeze these assets. And of course, Republicans immediately jumped on it and demagogue it as always and said, oh, they used that money to do that October 7th attack. Mm-hmm. It's like, so if a Democrat did anything like that, $300 billion in direct investment in Iran, they would lose their shit. But like, Trump may be able to get away with it. I think it's going to be really unpopular because Democrats can make hay of it, even though if we looked at the deal and started to work it out. So my fear for JD Vance, but I really do think long run, you'll see JD Vance own it early, get horribly criticized, and then when he's running for president and it's turned the corner going, all of y'all, right, he'll be smart enough to take credit for it because it's going to be incredibly unpopular in the short term. But if they actually make that investment and somehow normalize relationships with Iran, it's the greatest country in terms of potential there is. And of course, you have to get that theocratic government out. But the way to push that out is to, have more investment, have that, that educated secular class kind of emerge. And as, we've seen, a lot of those theocratic leaders are old and dying. And so, if there ever is a chance for Iran to kind of come through it, it would be an agreement where we're going to normalize relationships, remove sanctions, allow your economy to come back. I'm not saying there's a high probability, but I think it could really be a decent looking deal in 2 years. And all of a sudden JD Vance is going, no, one person stood with me. And all of a sudden you're looking at a presidential run. So
you're saying he's made lemonade out of some lemons.
I think he knows what he's doing when he's owning it. Trump, of course, is doing what he always does, which is if it works out, he'll try and take credit. If it's a failure, it's JD Vance's failure. But I think if JD Vance is like, if I'm going to own this, then we're doing some pretty liberal shit, which is we're going to do massive investment into this country and start rebuilding their economy and hope when you rebuild the economy, not that Saudi Arabia is this shining darling, but if you've seen in the Middle East, Qatar and all these countries where they've let the economy kind of overtake the hardcore theocracy, we're starting to see much more normal relationships. And, you had World Cup in Qatar, which would have been unheard of. all because capitalism kind of overrode. I mean, it's happening in China. Like capitalism is a pretty powerful force. And if you could
Sure.
rebuild Iran's economy, I think in 2 or 3 years, JD Vance could go,
But like it's
told you.
but and I get what you're saying, and I mean you're probably right about like what he's going to try to do with it or whatever. But is that going to be able to outrun? Is that going to be able to beat the accusations that it's basically the same deal that we had with the JCPOA, except we're giving them kind of more leeway and more money?
Yeah, and JCPOA was wonderful. Like,
Yeah.
and I couldn't believe that. And all the Democrats were too. There was Democrats who thought, just like we always do, like instead of standing up for what's right, let's look at the polling right now, and then that's how we're going to make our decision. Like, Iran has incredible potential. Like, this is Persia. This is some of the most educated people, brilliant people on earth. They are just in a situation. I'm not saying it's like America, but like we know plenty of times when a society is not reflective of who their president or their theocratic ruler is. And so there's just incredible potential with Iran if you could have, and of course we've been trying to do it for 40 years, but I think anybody who knows history is like America's consistently screwed with them, whether it was, assassinating their leaders or trying to engineer or basically making all our policy about whether British Petroleum could get a hold of their oil. And so, I'm not saying it's an easy path, but I do think JD Vance is like, I'll own this, Trump, but you let me do an agreement that will actually move the needle.
Yeah. There was a Ben Rhodes, who's one of the Pod Save guys that has the podcast Pod Save the World. He was on Fresh Air maybe a week or so ago, and he was, part of making that deal.
Yeah, they've got a great podcast called The Long Game that goes really deep dives into foreign policy.
If you want just like a basic primer on how good of a deal that was and the work that went into it and kind of why where we're at now is a little bit of a disaster, go listen to that episode of Fresh Air. But you talk about JD Vance, man, what a schmarmy asshole.
Oh yeah, he's just a blank vessel.
And he was on The View,
opportunism.
and I saw a couple of clips of, and the women on The View like asked him some really good questions. I'll tell you what he is an expert at is not answering a question.
Yeah.
I mean, and he just does these little like rhetorical moves that just turn your question into like a bad, misguided accusation that he has the correct answer for.
His brilliance for
is
doing a convoluted
weird.
answer is, I mean, you know how you can just respect game? Like, I do respect his game because, like, when he was trying to defend January 6th, he sat down by himself. I was like, all right, where could I come from this? And basically, he went after liberals who were like, well, we have all these criminal justice reform people, moms, who care about murders or care about deep felons who serve their time, and we have all this movement, and I think it's great, but why not extend that sympathy to the January 6th rioters? And I'm like, all right, that's such bullshit. But the nugget of like, how do I spin this in a way that it's not credible, but I was like, I respect how much evil thought went into that of like, how can I get up there and make an intelligent argument for pardoning January 6ers? And it's like, all right, whatever. Whatever. I'm scared of him. But I just think, the thing that could resurrect his presidential run is a year and a half from now going, not one person stood with me, kind of like Obama's bailout of the auto companies. Like, that really is what clinched his reelection because every single human said, oh, that's going to be shit. It saved the auto industry. And it was so clearly they made him own it because they thought it was so bad. When it turned out great, they're like, kind of hard to deny.
But he's just so unlikable.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to win the presidency. I just think this is why I think he went to Trump and said, I was against this war, told you this shit would happen. Now we've got to get out of it. We all know that. Like, he can, we'll probably go through this spin cycle where everybody denies it, but like, it was such a disastrous mistake. The Strait of Hormuz and like the economy is imploding. They know that. So it's like, we got to get the deal done. We don't care what we have to give up to get this ceasefire and get the Strait of Hormuz open. Not the worst situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't have started the war, but like, I agree, let's stop the fighting. And then I think JD Vance is like, all right, you want me to own this deal? Fine, but we're doing far bigger changes than you would ever put on the table. We'll see.
We'll see. I am a little scared of him, but I mean, he is so unlikable. And I mean, he is kind of part of the whole Trump thing, but he just doesn't have
and women hate him.
1/100th of the personality. And I don't think even MAGA people if you really, really got down to it, like gun to their head, I don't think they would.
No, I don't
say-
think he wins, but I do think this is his long-term plan of like, this is what I'm going to do. And you were talking about, I kind of enjoyed the, how much you get digitally targeted by ads now.
Yeah.
The last couple of podcasts I've been going, I've gotten ads from Aramco. I had one when I got over here, the Saudi Arabian oil company. And I just kind of chuckled because I'm like, why is it playing during this podcast? And of course, they're advertising the World Cup. And I also know they're one of the most profitable companies. And so they just have billions and they're probably just generally greenwashing their reputation. But I just want to know what the hell I'm going to do with the podcast ad for Aramco. Like, I can't go buy their oil. I can't buy their merchandise. Like, there's literally nothing I could do, even if I positively respond to that commercial. But it's just,
Yeah, there it is.
yeah.
I bought a pizza steal last week as a result of some targeted Instagram advertising, and I've been
See?
making pizza. I've had pizza like 3 nights for dinner.
And it's excellent, isn't it?
And it's
See,
freaking
you just got to
great.
give in to the digital advertising.
Yeah.
They really deliver what you need.
Sometimes you get a winner. Talk about a couple of fun things real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on the World Cup, but it has been like you kind of turned around on this.
Completely.
It has been a joy to see all of these people from all these different countries come over here and enjoy America.
Agreed.
I mean, there was somebody who had kind of put together a montage of a lot of social clips, of kind of people reporting back, to their audiences about how they've found America. And just one guy was saying, like, if you watch the news, it's so easy to like hate America. If you drive across it, it's impossible.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's
just-
what we talked about. Like when you get, whether it's the South or anywhere, once you get to meet the people, and that German Twitter account that blew up where he went to Buc-ee's and Waffle House and all this stuff, I think he got invited to the White House. And so, but I mean, one, the American team being good totally changed me. But, it's been fascinating. And it's kind of like, it's a democratic dream of like watching other cultures go, oh, wow, when you meet people and you're open to it, it's incredible. Like, yeah, like diversity is our strength. It always has been. I
Yeah,
don't know why
all
we're
the
scared of
Scottish
it.
people like descending on Boston, and
Yeah.
you see like cops dancing in the street with
Yeah.
bagpipes, and it's just
And I don't know if you saw it, but the Iran team that did really well wrote this beautiful thank you note in the Los Angeles locker room, saying, from the civilization of Persia, we just want to thank you for your hospitality. You've been lovely. It was just beautiful.
man, people are wonderful,
Yeah.
and
it's amazing.
governments fuck it up so bad, don't they?
Pretty much.
When I had like travel abroad experiences in college, I remember sitting in a room with Australians, British, Chinese, Koreans, for just people Irish, just people Germans, people from all over the world. And we're all there 23 years old,
Yeah.
having beers and having the time of our life talking to each other. And I just remember thinking like, how does this get so bastardized in the
And I don't
political
know how it
world?
is, but I do know that, to beat up on conservatives, their belief system is so fragile. It's like they have to feel like, foreign countries are doing something wrong, or I wouldn't actually care about their culture or their food, because then it would fuck with their belief system. Like when you realize that everybody's human, and that not only that like there's such an interesting perspective and beauty from people who, who are different,
Yeah.
and the World Cup has been great. I have to eat my words. Are we past soccer?
Yeah, we're past soccer.
Have you watched Maternal Instincts? That needs to be
No,
the
no.
mandatory. We're talking about it because there's something insanely beautiful about really bad trash TV that, I mean, whether it's Tiger King or other stuff that's undeniable, Maternal Instincts is like that.
I'm the biggest proponent of trash TV. It's come up a couple times where my girlfriend and I've been like, do we want to watch that
Yeah,
tonight?
you
And it's
do.
like, no,
You do.
we
You do.
don't.
So the first little prayer I said was when it opens, it's this woman who clearly is trying to say that she just had a baby. And the cop's like, okay, but the doctor's right here and he's going to examine you and he's going to know in like 20 seconds that whether you had a baby or not. She's like, I don't care. Come on. And then I was like, oh shit, please don't be Arkansas. Please don't be Arkansas. Please don't be Arkansas. And it was DeKalb, Texas. I was like, all right.
Close.
Thank God. Yeah. So, but I don't know what to tell you about it, but the deception that this girl goes to is just like everybody's going to watch it. You might as well get it.
Okay, I'll watch it and we'll talk about it
It's
next time.
incredible and disturbing and all that.
We can talk about something that you and I both liked. which is Song Sung Blue.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you liked it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's a formulaic
Yeah.
biopic, but it's
Well,
just good.
rewatched it because it hit Netflix, and I feel like my girlfriend was like, "You should bring it up again because people can actually watch it now on Netflix." And again, I have no idea how to explain magic, but Craig Brewer's done it to me several times with Hustle and Flow. I remember watching that when I was in DC in the theaters, and my buddy and I, R.L. Condren, when it came out, I was like, "That was the best movie I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah.
And of course, that's a little hyperbolic, but it was incredible. I'm like, that movie was so incredible about him telling a story about people you didn't think you would care about, and just the way he gives, I don't know, heart to people and just like this ability to cheer for him. And of course, it was a love letter to Memphis, and it's just an absolute masterpiece. Song Song Blue is not as good, but you do it. I don't give a shit about Neil Diamond, and I wouldn't give a rat's ass about a Neil Diamond cover band about some couple in the Midwest. Like, you can't line up anything where I'd care less about it. And Craig Brewer's magic with that, it's just amazing. I really think, who is it? Kate Hudson should have won the Oscar. I mean, like what she did with such a mundane seeming role.
Oh yeah.
And how heartfelt it was. And that's when movies are the best, you can't really explain why it was magical or why, and I don't think it should win the Oscar for last year. But in terms of like the best movie experience I had, where I was just like so joyful coming out.
It was a lot of fun, a joy to watch. The performances are great. Like Hugh Jackman's great. Those characters are so endearing.
Yeah, and it has a little Pearl Jam reference.
I was interested in it because that is the first time in which Eddie Vedder has been performed by someone in a fictional role, which he was whatever. But I do like that Pearl Jam connection. They didn't open for Pearl Jam.
Right.
Pearl Jam was playing a big show, and they came out for an encore, and they sang Forever in Blue Jeans with Eddie.
Pretty good.
Like, everybody had a lot of fun. It was great. It's like the movie. They have to Hollywood the story up a little bit.
Well, and it ties into how delusional they were as, this performance couple. Like, they were lovely, but they're also just...
But that, like, began, like, a relationship that lasted a long time, and when Mark Sardina passed away... And they have this in the film where they have this conversation about guitars, and Mike said, "I've always wanted this Gibson ES 330 or whatever." And when he died, like, Eddie sent that guitar.
That's awesome.
To his family. So it's it's a sweet story. It's really cool. It was just a lot of fun. I liked it.
It was a magical little movie, and I love. I can't get enough of Craig Brewer. I can't wait for his next. I hope he goes back to movies.
He makes great films about music. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We're at time. You got anything else you just got to get off your chest?
Not that I can think of. I'm just trying to support Aramco any way I can because this podcast ad, it really has me motivated about Saudi Arabian oil.
Making pizza's been making me really happy. So make some pizza.
We've got another pizza joint. I feel like our next episode, we really need to champion some of the new food scene that we've seen around.
Well, my friend and I went to Pizzeria Ruby, which I think the first time I ever went there was with you.
Yeah.
That was his first time there. We went before the Beth show last weekend, a couple weeks ago, whatever. And we're eating the pizza. It's the first time he'd ever had it. And he like takes a couple bites and he just looks up at me and he goes, "Why is this so good?"
Yeah, it's magical.
And it's good. And my response was, it's good because every piece of it is good.
Yeah.
The crust is good. The sauce is good. The cheese is good. They probably cut those pepperonis.
We have to
just
extend
the
a
pepperoni.
little bit. Yeah, the Italian sausage is the best I've ever had, and I've never liked Italian sausage. And every place, we talked about this with barbecue joints, is consistency. And I've rarely had a bad experience at Pizza Ruby, but especially early, the first time, it was better than any pizza I've ever had, including John's on Bleecker Street, New York. If our pod is sponsored by, I want to be like sponsored by Howell Brother t-shirts, Pizzeria Ruby restaurant, maybe some Cotopaxi gear. I don't know if we could curate that, but I can't shout out Pizza Ruby enough. I was a huge early adopter, always advocated. Their pasta is incredible.
Yeah.
And when
their social media accounts are awesome.
Incredible. And when their pizza is on, it is just impossible to beat.
Yeah.
And
So
I've been
Pizzeria
to
Ruby
a lot of pizza
in Johnson, and now they've opened up Lottie's.
Yeah, I'm
which is
excited
a
to
new
try
place
that.
in, I don't know where it is.
I think
Benville.
I think it might be. Well, Pizzeria Ruby, reach out to us and we'll champion it.
That's all we got. Thanks for tuning in. We'll try to catch you next week.
Go see Maternal Instincts. Bye.